my name is Anna. I've been vegetarian for about 25 years and vegan for 12 years. I have a family who has also been vegan for all of that time. My husband Arden and I have been together for about 11 years, and we have two kids who are 7 and 5. They've been vegan since conception, so they were conceived to two vegan parents and the product of healthy vegan pregnancies. We're a homeschooling family, a work from home family now. I guess a lot of people are a work from home family now. My husband and I met in law school, and he continues to be a litigator. I was an animal protection lawyer for a long time, not a long time, but about 8 years. And in that time, I met a lot of people who are interested in the vegan lifestyle but did not know what to eat. So as a side project, I started a vegan cooking various social media accounts, and those have sort of increasingly grown to become a passion for me. And I continue to share the food that my family really eats, which I think a lot of people find helpful because we're not always cooking recipes every day. Sometimes we just need to know how to get it done. So that project is called Easy Animal Free, and the book version of that being published by Appetite by Random House will be out next year. And the title is actually TBD, but I think it will be called Vegan Family Kitchen. We'll see.
Oh, exclusive, y'all. You heard it
here. We'll see what the publisher says it will be titled.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Asha, you're up next.
Hello. So I've been vegan for just a bit over 3 years, nearly 4. And I was vegetarian previously. So yeah, we have 2 little ones, 2 and a 5. We have an almost 4 and almost 2. So they're exactly 2 years apart. Both vegan children, and have never experienced any animal products. My husband and my husband transitioned shortly after I did, and it was a decision that we made that was intentional in terms of how we wanted to raise our family. And it was about 2 years ago that I launched into our food business, which is vegan, and it's inspired by some of my family's recipes that are 100% plant-based. And so we offer catering services and some of our packaged goods and meal services in the Vancouver area. Yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Hey, and Jenni and Robyn, you're up next.
Well, I'm Jenni, this is Robyn, and I've been vegan for 3 years, vegetarian before that. And Robyn, well, we've been together for 2 years, so about 2 years. She transitioned right after we got together, so it went pretty smoothly, easily. And our co-parenting dads are not vegan at all, and they don't necessarily believe in it. I don't know how, but they don't. And so our children grow up omni, so they are eating dairy and some meat with their dads, and with us they are 100% vegan. And so it's hard to kind of work with that, but yeah, so I work from home. And you?
I work for the government. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And we have 5 kids. So I brought to our blended family 2, an almost 9-year-old and almost 7-year-old. And Robyn has 3.
Yeah.
7, 5,
7, 5, and 3.
All girls.
So basically we have 3, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Busy house.
Yeah. That's a little bit about us.
And then also you have a sanctuary.
Oh yes, we have. Right.
Oh yeah,
right. That. Yes, we did chores all day long. So we're like, it's 7:07 here. Yeah, we're like, all right.
Where are you?
We're in Manitoba. Yeah, right smack dab in the middle of Canada. So we are here and we live on a big acreage, and we started rescuing animals in July of this year. So we have 4 goats, 2 ponies, 8 chickens, 4 ducks. Is that it?
2 dogs.
2 dogs,
2
7
pigeons.
2 homing pigeons. They're wild, but
7 cats.
And more to come.
Perfect. Awesome. And just so everybody knows me, I'm Serene. I've been vegan since 2006 with my husband, vegetarian before that, and as well as had 2 kids. One is 5, one is turning 8, and they're both been vegan since conception. And this Peace Humane is kind of my passion project, completely volunteer based. And I really appreciate all of you coming on here tonight to just talk about being a parent, and being a vegan parent, and just all the questions that people might have regarding that. I know just my first question for everybody, just to kind of be an icebreaker for fun. What is your favorite meal to make, or just something quick that you like to do for your kids that you find your kids really like? Anna, if you want to go first, or should we do?
Sure, I'm happy to go first. Yep. So my kids really love pasta. I don't know any kids who don't, but they like sort of a cream sauce or like a rosé where we mix a cashew cream with a kind of a tomato basting. The whole family also really likes peanut noodles. So just a sort of rice noodles with some vegetables like Napa cabbage, grated carrots, and then a simple sauce of peanut butter, soy sauce, rice vinegar, and then thinned out with a bit of water. That's a super easy meal that can be done in 10-15 minutes. And then we also really like soup. So just like throw everything in a pot, and you can easily add red lentils, which just disintegrate. And even kids who aren't into legumes will usually go for red lentils. And you can add coconut milk to make it even more irresistible, potatoes, peas, that kind of thing.
Asha, do you have any tips? What's your faves?
Any soups or stews, I'd say both would enjoy. And definitely, like Anna said, lentils are a big staple in our home. Luke, our youngest, loves potatoes. Anything with potatoes would go. And then our oldest, Hallie, loves, she wishes I could make sushi every night, but soups go-to.
Same, yeah.
But yes, that's our go-to. Anything we can make that's a stew, and then with the side of rice, fragrant rice, like rice plow. Yeah, easy peasy.
Jenni and Robyn.
Well, with 5 or 7 people with different choices in what they like to eat, we do a lot of build your own, fill out your blank. So we do wraps often. We call it taco night. And so we will add just a bunch of veggies all over the table and rice and some vegan cheese, and to make it fun, and they wrap it all up themselves. And I remember the first night that we ever did that, they went crazy, and I think they all had 2 huge wraps, and they're just like, this is the best. So that, and like Friday night, make your own pizza, obviously vegan, and like spaghetti is a good one, although like my oldest doesn't like things touching each other. So as much as I love soup and like cream pastas, and I still make them for whoever will eat them, we kind of have to cater a little bit, and to be able to do that, we always just have a platter of veggies on the table, and then always something that all the children like a rice or we can't even do potatoes. Oh man, it's hard, but
keeping everybody happy.
Yeah.
Great. So I would like to keep this as an open question. So anybody wants to start with this one. How did anybody here with pregnancy, with being pregnant vegan? Because I know that a lot of people, there are some fears with being pregnant and being vegan. So can anybody share your experience, any weird cravings or anything in that sense? I'm guessing, Anna, you look like...
I think I might be the only one who actually was...
Probably. I don't know. Asha, you said...
No, with my second, I definitely...
Yeah, your second.
Oh, right, of course. You go ahead, Asha.
Okay. Okay, so weird cravings. I didn't think it was. I thought the first was a little odd. I definitely had some challenges with when I was not vegan, actually, and some of the challenges I faced was my iron count. I always struggled with that, and so with my first pregnancy, it was definitely a challenge. It got a little scary at first, especially the first trimester. Bowel movements talk about, but was not easy. And yeah, so it was great with my second experience with Luca. I felt that I had more energy. I got all the nutrients I need. I didn't need to see the specialists that I needed to see initially with my iron stores. I didn't have any weird cravings, I didn't think. Oh no, maple syrup. That was an odd one. I put maple syrup. That was it.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, Anna.
Yeah, so I had 2 healthy pregnancies. Both of my babies were born full term. My first was 8 pounds at birth. My second was 10 pounds at birth. And just for reference, my sort of like healthy weight is a little above 100 pounds because I'm very petite. And so they were very big babies made entirely out of plants. It's because my husband is very large, not because plants are extra heavy. And I did have some cravings. I craved mineral water, which is rich in minerals. And so I suspect that's what was going on. I would buy it by the case, Gerolsteiner water or San Pellegrino. I also craved oranges. So I would buy those also by the box and just eat oranges all day long. I guess I was probably craving the vitamin C to help me absorb iron because with such a big baby, especially with my second one, I also struggled with low iron. Despite that not really being something that I struggle with outside of pregnancy. But I took the Floravit. Is it Floravit? That's the one. Floravit. It's a really good sort of gentle, drinkable iron supplement that is more digestible than some of the other pills. I also struggled with food aversions, which is something that people don't always talk about, but if you bring it up, everyone's like, oh yeah, me too. So what that means is everything was gross to me, except for like one thing I could sort of stomach. So I found myself craving the foods of my youth. And as a young person, I was vegetarian, but I didn't have like the healthiest diet. I ate like Kraft dinner when I was cooking for myself, that is. So I used to make like a pasta with like cream of mushroom soup and corn and stuff like that. So I craved those types of things, Subway sandwiches as well, which was like my fast food of choice when I was a teenager. So I found myself craving those. And so I had them, I just veganized them and kind of made them, updated them a little bit. So I would make like a rotini pasta with like a sort of a condensed mushroom mixture that I would make myself. Or I went to Subway and I got a Subway sandwich with all the pickles and all of that. Like I haven't had it since, but it just really hit the spot when I was pregnant. So I find often your cravings aren't necessarily telling you that you're missing a nutrient or something like that, but it's just your body's way of maybe driving you towards something more familiar and keeping you safe. But you can totally satisfy that craving in a way that is more in alignment with, for me, it was different ethical and health values. So I just did it in a different way and it worked.
Yeah, no, I think the question was rooted in the thing too of, I know that some people think that there's stories of people craving meat after they get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see with all of you, kind of just seeing what, if there is any cravings that you've had that, or some weird ones like a pickle or whatever that people usually have. So that it is like a normal thing to have cravings.
As somebody who hasn't really eaten a lot of meat throughout my life, I didn't crave those, but I was craving foods that were rich in things that I'm sure my body needed. So I think it's your body's way of communicating with you, but it's a crude communication. Like it's not necessarily saying, maybe the pickles, you're really craving the salt because pregnant women need salt. If it's ice cream, maybe you're craving the fattiness and maybe even the calcium, but you can certainly meet those cravings in different ways. Or if it's meat, maybe women are craving red meat, but they're really craving the iron because their body recognizes that as a quick iron source. But you can certainly, there's many sources of iron that come from plants as well, or even from supplements. And some women like me and like Asha, it sounds like, need that little bit of help from modern medicine. And we're so lucky to be able to access it, because in global health, iron deficiency in pregnancy is a big problem. And I'm so grateful that I can just go to the store and buy what I need.
Yeah, and I remember talking to my midwife about that iron is a big one just in general with pregnancy. It's not just for vegans. And She actually did tell me, I think I was on the cusp of when it became a little bit more normal for people to have babies when they're vegan. Because she said like, oh no, vegans are fine. They're usually the better ones with iron that she's found, like compared to others. So that was
research backs that up as well. Actually, it's vegetarians who tend to have the lowest iron levels, and that's because with eating dairy, which has no iron in it, and it can compete with other sources of iron. Because if you're eating lentils, especially with a source of vitamin C like tomatoes or something else, even citrus, and you're eating lots of leafy greens, and I mean, there's so many plant-based iron sources, but that's just to name a few that many of us are eating on a daily basis. You're getting lots and lots of iron. So yeah, it's the research bears that out, pregnancy or not, vegans don't tend to have a concern with iron.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And let's go to the next one. And I will talk to Robyn and Jenni about this one, if that's okay first. Do you find plant-based vegan eating affordable or a little bit more expensive for you and family?
We have a big family, so our bill is always it's always up there. But I wouldn't say it's not affordable. I mean, as long as you're eating whole foods and you're not buying the junk food vegan food, because like that's outrageously priced right now, and it's obviously not that healthy for you. So I don't know, we make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've only been vegan for 2 years, so walking by the meat section, I feel like I'm saving so much money just by not even looking at in that direction. I think for us, it's just with such young children, trying to get them to try a variety of different, fruits and veggies. And so buying, lots of different things, and takes them several times, before they'll eat it. So we have food waste that, kills us inside, but I feel like it's, working towards a long-term goal where you just continue to give it to them and eventually they'll start to eat it. So, I mean, like our youngest is 3, so it's a work in progress, especially when they go to their dad's and they're eating dairy and they just want real cheese, right? So that's kind of a struggle, I think, maybe with the
Getting that addiction
financial
out of them,
aspect. Yeah, but otherwise, no, I would say it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Asha?
Yeah, I think I just want to acknowledge that we are privileged, and food accessibility in comparison to some parts of the world is a lot more accessible for us. And so, yeah, I 100% agree. If you are looking at more of the processed foods that, went through different steps to be what it is, it's going to cost more money. And so I think that's some of the unfair comparisons that I hear of like, oh, I want to go plant-based, but you think it's so expensive, until you start listing some of the ingredients like lentils, which is way more accessible, high protein, that can be bought at many grocery stores. And yeah, we try to have as many varieties of vegetables. The other great thing is, if you are, again, privileged to be able to grow some veggies in your garden, then that's another way. And we try to do that as much as possible.
Yeah, and I find bulk too. If you can buy bulk, it saves you so much. Like oats, like we buy from, I think it's Spud, they buy like this huge bag and it's so cheap compared to like if you buy those small bags, and it lasts forever. So Anna, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think when people say eating vegan is expensive, they're thinking specifically of the meat and cheese, like the vegan products. And yes, absolutely, those are more expensive. And for some people who are transitioning, those might be the foods that they're reaching for. And particularly with children who might be transitioning, your kids want cheese, and there's no doubt about it. Vegan cheese is very expensive. It's sort of like a nice to have item. In some ways, for me, I find that useful because I dole out the chow cheese slice. You're going to have like one grilled cheese or whatever, and they're not like eating hunks of cheese all day long. So there's that's sort of like the silver lining. But I think for the most part, our diet is made up of red lentils, chickpeas, black beans, pinto beans. We eat oats, chickpea flour, fruits and vegetables, and there's a lot of potatoes, sweet potatoes. You can go to discount stores, you can buy in bulk. We buy 25-pound bags of oats. We can get organic oats for about $30, which is a great price. And then we use that for pancakes, waffles, muffins, any kind of like baking like that. Same thing with the pulses. If you can buy them dry, then they're very inexpensive. And then some of the more affordable vegetables, if budget is really a concern, are things like carrots, cabbage, potatoes. They last a long time. They're very nutritious. They tend to be more kid-friendly. especially if you're getting like Napa cabbage or green cabbage, that can kind of disintegrate into the dish and the kids don't notice it. So peanut butter as well. A lot of kids really like peanut butter, and that's the family-friendly food. If they're not dealing with allergies, you can have it like on bread in the traditional way, but it's also great for sauces. You can dip veggies in it. You can have it on noodles. You can have it on rice. It's a very versatile thing to have that's very, very low cost.
Good point. Thank you. What do you find is the best way to help your child eat healthy? I think we did kind of touch base on that, but I might also be thinking of my discussion with Matt and Jay just before you guys. So yeah, do you have any tips or any advice for helping your kids eat more healthy?
Blend. I blend a lot.
So you blend a lot.
Blend it into their stews, soups, definitely smoothies, like getting oats, for example, like Anna mentioned, into pancakes, and adding flavors. Like I know they love cumin and cardamom. Those are some of the early spices that I introduced to both our children. And so, yeah, adding flavors and blending as many vegetables in. They do love they love broccoli and lots of the greens, which I'm super happy about. Our oldest, Hallie's pretty picky. And so we found that where the soups come in, we're able to really load it up, sneak everything in there.
Yeah, blending soups is great for kids with texture issues. I would add to that also to model healthy eating yourself. So just let your kids see you eating salads and green smoothies, and adding, when we make, similar to what Jenni's family was saying about kind of making sort of like choose your own adventure nights. If we make a pot of soup, often we'll leave the leafy greens out, and then Arden and I, my husband and I, will add lots of leafy greens to our soup. And we just make sure the kids can see that, I wasn't eating tons of greens in my soup at that age either, so I don't expect my kids to be doing it. And to be fair, children they're in a growth stage of life, so they don't need to be eating a lot of antioxidant rich vegetables. They need to be eating some, but they really need to be focusing on those high calorie foods, whereas us adults in the maintenance phase of life do need to be eating much more bulk in the form of like leafy greens and stuff like that. So also just to accept that, but just let them see you eating healthy and to be curious about it, and just don't make a big deal about it. Kids are all on this picky spectrum somewhere, whether it's very picky or just like they have their little preferences, and yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, we like to talk about it, and we often will go around the table and we talk about how, what are healthy foods, and, so that they can make the choices kind of wherever they are, even when they're not with us, which is 50% of the time. And they also know we kind of let them in on everything. We told them sometimes it takes 8 tries before you actually like something. So we're going to do this. This is time number 1 for lentils. This is time number 5 for oatmeal. And then they'll keep trying it. They're like, okay, it's time number 5. That's okay. I only have to do this 8 times. And also we don't force them either. So we have the rule that you have to try it. You have to chew it, so you need to swallow it. And if you really don't like it, it's okay. We'll try again another time. Just not forcing it. I remember being stuck at the table eating, my parents making me eat peas, and I loathed them. I wanted nothing to do with peas. And I still, Robyn loves peas. She's like, here's your peas. And I'm like, stop it. I don't want any. I mean, I like them now because I've been able to make my own choices, but I just want them to have a healthy relationship with the food.
I think getting them to help you cook too makes a huge difference with young kids. If they participate in the cooking or the baking, then they are way more likely to eat it. So
I agree. That's very true. Thank you. Awesome. Any tips for birthday parties or school or anything like that? I know, Anna, your are you homeschooling? I thought you were going to go and do regular school now too.
We have homeschooled all along, but we're affiliated with here in BC, it's called distributed learning. So we actually have a school that we have a classroom day once a week. And next year for my eldest, it'll be 2 days a week. And there's also like sort of, we go on a school camping trip, like various things like that throughout the year. And then we also have like full-time teacher support. So we're technically considered homeschoolers, but we do have a school community and we have school events. So we do have things where we go to the school, like last year, they were doing like a counting game with goldfish crackers, or there was a situation where they were creating a craft out of leather. So we have situations like that. And of course, with the birthday parties, it's a similar sort of thing. Yeah, so I think our approach to that is it really needs to be taken on a case-by-case basis. And we try to like age appropriately keep our kids in the loop and just try not to make a big deal about it. But my personal philosophy is like, if my kids wanted to have, I never forbid. If my kids made the decision, they wanted to have the cake, they didn't want to stick out, they didn't want to be weird, I just would let them. Because I think the point is not to like not have any of the cake. The point is to have these values that are important to us. But I don't want my kids to grow into, teenagers or adults who resent the way that vegan was weird and made them feel left out and they couldn't, they had to eat their peas or whatever. Like, I don't want to be forcing it upon them. And fortunately my kids they make the vegan choice of their own volition. But I think that's important, that it is their choice. And we provide an alternative if they want that. As it happens, we live in a bit of a vegan bubble because our closest friends are all vegan or vegan friendly. And it just always kind of seems to work out. With the school, I'll just have the conversation for them and I'll provide an alternative. But again, I'll just let my kids, I'll say, okay, here's this option for you. But you can decide in the moment. Like, I make sure that they're prepared with what they need in terms of like physical resources, but also in terms of like the conversation that they want to have or need to have. And then I just let them decide, and I don't shame or guilt or judge them around anything that they do. I just love them unconditionally and support them. And both of my kids are like, they love being vegan, they love animals, and it seems like it's really a part of their own identity and their own choosing. And I think largely that's because they do feel like they choose it, and they choose it every day.
That's true. That's really good. And Jenni and Robyn, because you have to, you share custody with non-vegan partners, previous partners, ex-partners. Is there anything that your kids do? Like, do you have to do extra snacks or different snacks, or is it kind of if you're at a party or whatever, there's not really any problems with that?
We are in the middle of Manitoba where there is not a vegan bubble for us, really. It's still kind of hard out here. But yeah, so same thing as Anna, we let our kids make their choices. We inform them as much as we can. And if they're having a birthday party, or if they're, right now they're not sending like birthday snacks to school, so we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, we would just send like, here's a little vegan snack that you can send if you can choose to eat it. The cupcake if you want to, but here's this treat too if you wanted, because I know it's so-and-so's birthday. But yeah, they'll go to the birthday parties and just eat what's there. Just as long as they know, I think. But I did have a conversation with the teachers. I noticed that my kids are coming home with candy, and I was like, first of all, I don't love candy rewards, but I understand that it's like what they're doing, and I don't want my kids to feel left out, and I know they love candy, and I know it's a once in a while thing. So I just politely suggested certain candies that were vegan and maybe not like marshmallows, and like anything containing gelatin can be left out. That would be great. And one teacher took it very seriously and was okay with that, and the other, I'm not sure if she did, but yeah.
Yeah, birthday parties are hard.
Yeah.
Luckily, our kids don't really like cake.
No.
So they'll ask for it and they'll take one bite and they just say that they don't like it. They do love ice cream, but they love our vegan ice cream. But if normal ice cream is presented to them, they don't really understand the difference, the younger ones anyways. So they think it's all just ice cream. So yeah, we have some friends that are really good and they'll respect us and, provide alternatives for our kids. But some, their school friends or whatever, we don't really know the parents all that well. So it's hard. We love throwing vegan birthday parties ourselves, That's always
Yeah.
fun.
That's like so it's so stress-free, right? Like you're just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
everything's
We
good.
can eat everything
Yeah,
here.
and
Yeah.
then they just have to accept it. But yeah, I think it's just the important thing is teaching our children the right things and letting them make their own choices, because we're not always going to be there. And yeah, that's hopefully they'll just make the right choice.
Yeah. Asha? Yours is pretty young still, correct? But you have daycare.
Yeah. What was pretty cool with Hallie was the daycare was strictly veg. So that's pretty much it was our first experience, and it made me a bit nervous, but they were pretty good. They had snacks and mostly vegetables and fruits, and then I was able to also contribute at times, and I was able to have conversations with the teachers and caregivers. Um, and I think they're still pretty young in terms of that experience. For parties, of course, that's the bigger challenge. And again, we are living in a bubble here, which, most of the families are plant-based or, plant forward. But yeah, I think it's not making it a big deal and creating that shame that carries on. And we do a lot of the parties, and so that eliminates a lot of the problems, a lot of potlucks.
Mhm.
So there's always an option. But yeah, I think the experience has been pretty few so far. So I think it'll be interesting with after preschool what that looks like. But yeah, not as many challenges there so far.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know from my own experience, I was very nervous going into school, especially for your first. Everything with your first is always so much scarier. But I got kind of something that helped me was the fact that I was given the advice that most kids nowadays, there's at least one kid in the class with an allergy. So you shouldn't worry about it, because your kid won't be the only one who is eating a different cookie or a different cupcake on the day. So most teachers, I haven't had any issues. I'm a little bit outside of your bubble, but I'm still, I guess, in BC, and I think BC is still kind of a bubble, like a West Coast kind of sense. But yeah, most teachers are really good with you giving them cookies or cupcakes. Like, oh my goodness, there's this one brand that's really good, and they sell the 4 packs of cupcakes in the freezers. And then you could just buy them and throw them in the freezer at the school with your kid's name on, and you see a bunch of other kids with allergies having their cookies and their cupcakes in there as well. So that's pretty easy. And for the candy, we were such health conscious growing up, especially with our first kid, that it just body shocked me when they started school, and it's every kid's birthday that they get a cookie or a cupcake. And then as well, kindergarten, it was treats that they were giving as rewards. And I was just like, you guys are feeding my kids so much junk, and I'm trying so hard not to. But our teacher for that, actually, I went and bought a whole bunch of vegan candy and just threw it in a bin. And I said, here, he can pick. And I put like toys in between too, because but also that's the thing with consumerism and Halloween coming up, right? Like you're just like, okay, how do you substitute candy but for toys, and then that's more stuff, and so it's a hard battle to have for sure. But that's the tips I have, is like, don't worry, your kid's not going to be the only one, and there are options to give them the alternatives, and most teachers I found are very helpful. Like Kira had like 2 bags. Like her teacher wanted me to bring her extra snacks just to have aside in case she finishes her lunches, because I guess like there is the fruits and veg that here in BC, I don't know if it's in the rest of Canada, where they go and they give schools extra veggies and fruits, like as kind of an incentive to get kids to eat healthy. So I know from my son telling me that sometimes he would go and ask if he can have an extra apple that they have in the thing, but I always try and pack extra food. I've never had that issue, but yeah, there are teachers out there. It depends on the teacher, I guess, and how much trouble you want to go into it. But that's my little thing.
I can't help but put on my lawyer hat here and just say also, if you're dealing with that on a school-wide basis, or if you're a teacher or a parent, one thing to do would be, because there are so many kids with allergies and there are so many health conscious parents, as we should be, right? I mean, we shouldn't be encouraging kids to eat candy. And it really is, it's going to be, it feels so outdated, and surely one day it will be banned. And what you can do as a parent is to just fire off a quick email to the school administrator and say, I really think you should not allow treats as prizes, or on birthdays, we have to find another way to celebrate that doesn't revolve around unhealthy rewards. You know, you might not win it today, but if enough parents spoke up, eventually it would change. And I do think eventually it will change. It's kind of like a bit of a legacy from when we were younger, but that's not the type of policy that's going to last forever. So you can do your part to encourage that to become a little bit more progressive and reflective of our food guide and our, you know, the importance of healthy eating.
Love that.
Mhm.
Love that.
This is kind of
Good tip. Oh,
I don't want to go activist here.
Sorry, Asha?
So just to add to that, so a friend of mine recently, her son was going through a surgery, and they're also a plant-based, and it was really shocking to see some of the food that was presented as available in the hospital for children.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's some of the things that it doesn't make sense anymore. But yeah, I think it goes the same way with schools. Like, why are we? Why is dairy an option, really?
Yeah.
And
Why is the milk program still existent? Why is there hot dog days? Like,
we have options, right? And so this was as recent as last month, and we ended up doing their meal prep just because there was like very, very few options for him to be able to be nourished at a hospital.
Yeah, and I also know from joining the pack at my kids' school, because I was like, okay, well, the only way to change things is to get involved and figure out how do you find solutions to all these things. And I can go into so much stuff, but I know from that, junk food sells. And if the school pack is fundraising for things, it will be the reason for everything, is because yes, the donuts sell, the hot dogs sell, the kids don't want to have healthy foods. And it's the same thing with like offering like BC Dairy coming around. Oh, don't get me started, like in schools and doing the presentations and saying you need dairy to survive and have strong bones. And I'm just like, no, you don't. So I can go on a rant.
And that's why it needs to be at a policy level. It needs to be the school administrators, even the school board, better yet, coming right from the top down. There needs to be a policy that applies across the board that sets out the parameters of what packs and what teachers can and can't do in the classroom. And it's not just like a vegan special interest, because
that's not legal though, right? Like they don't, as far as I've been told, like they're not legally allowed to do that.
Well, they can have policies that, for example, prevent corporate advertising in schools, let's say, you could have that apply to something like the BC Dairy Board. Yeah, there are more things they can do. And yeah, I mean, teachers aren't allowed to do absolutely everything. They do have policies that they have to comply with. So there are options, but yes, it's gonna vary from province to province, but you know, everyone's going to have a limited capacity. Some people might want to take it on as their issue, but what everyone can do, and what I often just do myself, is just simply write an email. Because if everyone who had an opinion just wrote an email to a decision maker, they would get a lot more emails. So it's so important to take our frustrations and put them into an articulate form, or even a phone call. Phone calls are just as good, or sometimes better.
Well, and just to give an example, so last year, hot lunches before COVID hit, I did send an email to our pack being like, there needs to be more plant-based options for food lunches, hot food lunches. And they did take it to heart, because I put in facts about the environmental impact and everything like that. And they implemented, they got a completely vegan food to Feed Me Fit is their name here in Vancouver, to come do lunches for kids. So like it does work. It does work if you do it. You just have to do the work as parents.
Yeah, this week actually I had something happen. My daughter Jovi came home with some of the assignments that they've been doing, and they were working on the food groups. And one food group was meat, and one food group was milk, and one was grains, and one was vegetables. And I'm like, I'm sorry, meat and milk are food groups? I'm not sure. So obviously I need to keep my opinion out of it, but I just quickly Googled the, Canadian food groups, and it's clearly there that's just non-existent. So I sent an email.
Good.
But please just do some quick research before educating my child. I trust you.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
sometimes all
they're
it is
using
is
outdated resources because that has been changed in the last couple of years.
yeah, and I think sometimes it's just habit and old habits and people not wanting to do the work to do the change, right? Like it's maybe, oh, I still have some of this paperwork and I've already done it. And that's why I find most of the stuff, I really need to find things that are easy for teachers to do and free. So that's the two main focuses for change. And that's why I think I advise any parent who want to see change is to join PACs and see what they're doing and seeing how you can get involved and see how you can be like, okay, well, you're doing that fundraiser. Can we find something different? Because I don't want a petting zoo at my school. So things like that. Okay. We already discussed the food for the family meals. And I guess, how do you discuss and handle the questions of veganism with your children? Let's start with you, Asha, if that's okay. Do you have they asked you any questions yet?
Hallie's starting to. It's more. It's so early. But it's discussions of when food is presented to her. We start talking about what's in there, what are the ingredients. She has some great questions. And again, in the vegan bubble, like not much. She doesn't have as much experience outside of that. And but the key questions like, what is this? Like, oh, it's vegan. It's cauliflower, and we'll talk about like what is the cauliflower and how did it get to that point. But it's again, she's under 4 years old, so we haven't gone that far yet. I think Caleb just joined us.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. And how about you, Robyn and Jenni?
It's kind of hard for us in the sense that like we do our part, and I'll explain that after, but it's hard because our kids, they trust their dads very much, right? And they love them, and we respect them being their dads and stuff, and so some of our kids are a little bit more sensitive, and so they don't want to eat the animal. And so like we will talk about what, this is made from this animal, like what you eat at daddy's is made from this animal. We try to avoid shame at all costs and say like it is your choice, and but just kind of educate them. And the way we do it is like we have vegan books. We watched there's a kids vegan YouTube channel, a girl who talks about where milk comes from and why it's not necessarily good for us. And so we just have a lot of talks about it. Like my oldest one, she's stubborn like me, and so she doesn't like talking about it. And so I'll be like, oh, well, do you know where that comes from? And she'll be like, I don't want to talk about this right now, Mom. And then my youngest, who's been vegetarian since she was like 2 or 3, she's just like, what? This is made out of an animal? Well, I'm never going to eat it again, So like I have 2 very different kids in that sense, and so yeah, we just do our best to talk about it and just keep presenting information, and hopefully it'll get stuck in their brains. Luckily, we have a 3-year-old who, she'll be able to absorb it the most.
Yeah, I find for me it's hard because their dad, for my 3 kids, makes them eat meat. He doesn't give them the choice, so that's very hard for me. And it's hard for them because they hear what we say and what we've taught them, and they don't want to eat it. And then he'll give it to them and tell them that they have to eat it. So I know that in time, if they continue with it, that he will eventually let them make the choice. But I just think that he thinks they're too young right now to make their own decision. So I just have to be patient. And, my oldest is 7, so I feel like she is definitely old enough to make her own choices right now. But he obviously doesn't. But I just keep telling her, if you have to convince him that this is what you want, not what I want. So hopefully he'll get there soon, and they'll be able to make their own choices. So that's my biggest struggle. But yeah, Jenny's ex is pretty good. He doesn't force them to eat meat if they don't want to. So she's lucky that way.
Yep.
Very good. Hi, Caleb. Oh, still muted.
Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
Sorry. Hi guys, I'm so sorry. I think Solomon knows we're about to start night weenie or something. He's like, because it's 9:47, and he's been in bed for 2 hours, and for the first time in 2 weeks, he woke up.
Aww. This is
Whatever.
parents, we know.
He had a big day today, so he chased his cousins around. It was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm gonna come back to you in just a second because yours is way too young. Your baby is still too young to be having a talk with regards to veganism.
Yeah.
So just a little. Anna, if you're able to answer the question.
Sure. So my kids have always been vegan. It's all they've ever really known. And for them, it's really normal, and it actually makes sense for both of them. My youngest is a huge animal lover. So he just doesn't want to eat animals. And my eldest he's not like an animal lover in the same way, but he definitely is very principled and has a strong convictions and a very strong sort of moral compass. And so he thinks it's like, we haven't told them too much about farming or anything like that. I think they've been exposed to it somewhat just through conversations we've had or work that I've done. Like if I've done a media appearance or something and Arden's had it playing and they've heard me talking about it. So I think they have a sense, but we have always just kept it really simple with them. Like animals, they don't want to be separated from their families. They don't want to be killed. My milk, cow's milk is for their babies, just like my milk is for you. These kinds of like very simple things. And they're like, yeah, totally. That sounds right to me. And I love animals and blah, blah, blah. I think for them, the harder part is like, then why don't my grandparents, why do they eat meat? Or friends that they see eating cheese or something like that. And it's hard for them. Like they really want all of their friends and family to go vegan. And so, which I think a lot of vegans can probably relate to. So we just try to, help them navigate through those big feelings and help them realize that all of us are imperfect. All of us are a work in progress. We're all just trying our best to be good people. And different people have different priorities, and different people have different levels of knowledge, and everyone's at a different spot. And our job is to set a good example and to just sort of meet people where they're at, and to always love unconditionally and be unconditionally supportive. And that makes sense to them. And I also think that those are just really good life skills. So it's not just about being vegan, but I think in a general sense, it's good for them to have this, thing that makes them a little bit different, that's a little bit different or unique about them. But that gives them the opportunity to express compassion for others and patience and sort of tolerance for differences. And I think just in general, that is going to serve them well. So I don't think our job as parents is to shield our children from anything hard. I think it's to give them the tools to help them navigate it. And that can absolutely be done with veganism.
Beautifully said. I can just say from my own experience too, like having kids from start being vegan, I think it is easier. Parents who might become vegan, especially if their kids are in teenage years, when it's so hard to begin with emotionally for them, is a harder thing, unless it comes from the kids, of course, right? Like if it's coming from them and you're learning with them, it's a different energy. I know for myself, I was really worried when I didn't want my kids to feel forced. I didn't want to show them factory farming things like footage or anything for them to understand. And so I researched a bit about if there's any vegan kids out there. And I found this YouTube video of a girl, I think she was about early 20s when they did the interview, and she was vegan since she was born. Like she's always been vegan. And this is very interesting too, because this is pre our current vegan how easy it is nowadays to be vegan. This is like pre any milk or substitutes or anything like that. And anyway, so she said the reason why she stayed vegan is because her parents never forced her, and they were always honest with her. Not in the sense of scaring her, but just, I think it's just being honest. Like It honestly, all it took my kids was for animals are our friends and we don't eat our friends. And I know that's very simple, but it literally, I was so worried about it for so long. And they're just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's like you said about the milk, like the milk's for you. It's not for any other babies, like that kind of stuff. So I think parenting in itself is really hard. And I think we need to give ourselves a break with that too. And yeah, my son, he once wanted to try fish because I think it was peer pressure because grandma was eating it. And it was his famous favorite grandma who was eating fish. We were having sushi and he wanted to try it. He had one bite. He didn't like it. He gave it back and then we said, okay, that's fine. And then we're like, okay, do you want to send it home to grandpa? He's like, perfect. And he doesn't want it. And if I tell him now that he's had fish, he's like, oh, that's horrible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think like you just have to be honest with them and you just have to and that's why I think this event is compassion for all, because I think veganism at its root is compassion and acceptance and for all species and all the environment, your health, like everything. So yeah, that's my little TED talk for today.
Amen.
Amen. Is the root energy of it. Caleb, since you joined us a little late, I think one question that we did discuss about babies, because do you want to introduce yourself just for a second? Tell us a little bit about you and your baby.
I'm sorry I'm late. Yes, Solomon is 18 months yesterday, and is he's like kicking major ass right now, and it's like the most fun, and I'm sure it's gonna get much harder, but for now it's just super joy. We've had like a really wild last couple of months, just like COVID and everything, and then job switching, and I just ran and lost a political race, and my kid came. He came with me. Most of the campaigning I did with him, because I just have him 3 days a week and I'm not working. So we've had like a wild little time. But yeah, I live in Nova Scotia, so it's pretty late now, and we also have so many weird things happening. Like the whole lobster Mi'kmaq like conflict that's happening right now. It's such a weird thing, and I've been thinking about it so much because it's like, this huge issue, and of course we support Indigenous rights and our family, but like it's also about how many lobsters can everybody kill, and it's a very strange and I was just thinking about doing this tonight, and it was like kind of like striking me as so weird in these such charged political times. And anyway, but yeah, so I've only been a dad for a short time, and Solomon and I have not had a lot of discussions about veganism. But he just, whatever, he loves food, and I've seen a lot of other people raise their kids vegan and have some of them end up being vegan and not. Like people that have worked in animal rights organizations for 30 years and one of their kids isn't vegan and the other one is. And I think the number one thing I try to keep in mind is like, it's all so hard, and you got to give yourself a break, because even the people that are the most eloquent about animal rights their kids aren't all vegan. So like, you got to just be kind to yourself, I think.
Thank you. And then I think one question. Oh, sorry, Asha.
It is Caleb's birthday today.
Oh yeah, it's my birthday too.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Caleb.
Yeah, it's a big day.
Happy birthday. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You guys did so great. We've just been chatting and it's already time up. I wanted to keep the floor open. If anybody has any questions, we can wait in a couple of minutes and see if anybody's got any questions. You can put it in the little Q&A. But other than that, I just want to thank every one of you. I know this time slot wasn't it was just more like what worked out with timing and with everybody else in time zones, so I appreciate, because I know evenings is not easy for parents in general. So I appreciate everybody coming on here. I do have links to Anna's Easy Animal Free on our website. I have links to Rainbow Ranger Station for Jenni and Robyn, and I have Asha's Kula Kitchen on our website if anybody wants to connect with any of the parents directly. Caleb, I don't have anything that I could really connect people with you. But if people have any questions and would like to ask Caleb anything, just email us here at PC Humane, and then I can forward that on as well. But it looks like we're good. And I just wanted to thank everybody here again for coming and doing a talk with us today about parenting.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for
Hope
putting
you
on
have a
this
good
event.
night.
Thanks.
Bye.